do the flapper first and see if that stops. You can also put some food dye inside the tank to see if there's any water entering the bowl.
This is the Check-A-Pro Radio Show. Check-A-Pro Joe has assembled a team of pre-qualified home service contractors to bring you the latest in services, products, and techniques. Now, here's your host, the man with a hard hat and tool belt, Check-A-Pro Joe.
We all have them in our house. Many of us have a number of them, and that's the toilet. Thank goodness for plumbers, because before plumbers, we had to go outside and do number one and number two. Now we can actually do our work inside the home. But we get this question all the time. Why is my toilet always running? That happens to a lot of us. We hear this constant sound of water running in the toilet. So I asked my friend, Bobby Crowder. He is an expert in the plumbing business. He is a plumber. I've asked him to come onto the program to help us out with this dilemma. Why do our toilets run? Bobby, how are you?
Hi, Joe. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, hey, thank you for coming on. So this is a common problem. Why do people's toilets run? What's going on here?
So there's actually several things. So, the toilet's running, the water in the tank entering the bowl, and then the fill valve fills back up. And that's where you're hearing the running from. What's happening, we have some sort of leak happening between the tank and the bowl. Usually the main source of that would be the flapper, but also the valve, which is the center spot of the inside the tank, could be bad as well. When it comes down to that, I would suggest, do the flapper first and see if that stops. You can also put some food dye inside the tank to see if there's any water entering the bowl. If you do, then you have one of those two options. So start with the flapper, and then the next one would be the flush valve. Unfortunately, when it comes to the flush valve, you're going to have to remove the tank to replace the flush valve. The tube of the flush valve could be cracked and it's seeping through the bushing, or the seal inside the tank of the flush valve. So those are the two main sources of the running toilet, and why, even though that running, the fill valve is what you're hearing. So that's where people are saying, hey, my toilet's running. So that's the main source of it.
So basically what happens if the water is seeping from the tank into the toilet bowl itself, eventually the valve's going to turn on to fill up the tank to where it needs to be.
Exactly. That is 100% correct.
And then you're going to have that irritating sound. If you're having any types of leaks from your tank or from the toilet bowl itself, which would probably mean a cracked toilet, you need to call a professional like Bobby. Bobby's information is located right here in the description of this podcast. Hey, Bobby, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Check-A-Pro is your local source for pre-qualified contractors. Stay tuned for more of the Check-A-Pro Radio Show.